one problem we're solving is we're able to go beyond what the content management sites can do out of the box. And by that, I mean like Squarespace and Shopify, right? Shopify is an amazing experience for standing up a store. And Squarespace, we feel, is actually a little bit better. It just gives you more design flexibility for doing more custom, user interface work. I'll just leave it at that. But I'll give you one example. We have 2 recent clients that surprisingly wanted to solve a similar problem, which is you go into some kind of a web-based app, you walk through a questionnaire. I mean, almost like TurboTax, right? You've ever used TurboTax. Mm-hmm. It's a metaphor that people really like. With TurboTax, you go through this step-by-step questionnaire, and it is building out your tax form. And at the end of it, it delivers you a tax form, right? The actual government, 1040 or whatever they're called now. And you don't even see it, not really. I mean, yes, you can download it and look at it, but nobody does. They just hit the submit and away it goes. And people have come to us that wanted to do, obviously nothing with taxes, but had some variation of, I want to walk a customer through a questionnaire, and then I want to deliver a PDF that is filled out with, correct responses. I mean, you can imagine things like proposals for stuff. Like we did this this is public, for Orange Tree. Orange Tree had this problem. They do background screening, and they wanted to walk someone through a questionnaire and deliver a PDF, which is basically like a detailed sales estimate in a PDF. But these newer clients, it's gotten more complicated, where they want to take, for example, a government form, ask you some questions, and then stamp in your answers into the right fields. Like you've seen like the IRS versions of the PDFs, mm-hmm. where they only work in Acrobat. It's because they don't, they download this interactive version, and they want to be able to put stuff in there. Well, none of the content management systems provide anything like that. So we can go into like a Squarespace, and we can build out, right, a very high usability questionnaire, right, with a complex workflow and whatnot. And but then we collect that data, and then we throw it over, just using JavaScript, into Google Firebase, right, into a Firestore. And then we have just a little bit, we have a Firebase function back there, which can then take that data and stamp it into the right spots on the PDF, and then deliver that PDF back. So it seems like a small thing, but it's like the keystone for the whole application is this, we're delivering you your government form with the right stuff put into it. So that's why we tend to say low code and not no code, because it's low code in the sense that, we're writing a Firebase function that's using some open source package that helps us, edit PDFs in real time without damaging them. You got to be careful with like the government forms, for example, to make sure that they're still editable. And then we fill everything in and then just deliver it as a download. But from the end user's perspective, it's like they're in Squarespace and they just clicked a button and they downloaded a PDF. Cool. Those kind of solutions. I'm amazed at how many people have come to us with some variation of that workflow. I mean, almost to the point where we've thought about, God, we should take what we've built here, try to generalize it, and just, throw it out there into the open source community, right, to use for other stuff. Because it does seem to be a very common, use case or user story, if you will.
I love open source projects. I also have a lot of, I would say my GitHub profile is a lot of graveyard projects as well that I started in open source and just don't have the time to figure it out. One observation I'm making as we're having this conversation is that you are, what's the term? You're making hay while the sun shines. You got into this new market from, you were a B2B design firm working with businesses that you had to adapt because of COVID. You saw this opportunity to do more commercialized B2C client projects by using out-of-the-box software and SaaS platforms.
Yep.
You also were able to leverage the success with this new offering to get an amazing office in North Loop for not a lot of money in the scheme of things. I mean, you're really riding this wave of disruption. Mm-hmm. What do you think is your biggest risk in the next 5 years as we go back to quote unquote like the new normal?
Ooh. So you're asking me to look out 5 years and go, what's going to come next? One thing that will for sure happen is things will get easier. I think that this threshold of where code has to be written by us versus what we're leveraging off a SaaS platform will continue to move in the direction of the SaaS platform. In other words, as every year goes by, we'll have to write less and less. I mean, I just promise you, somebody somewhere, if they haven't done it already and we just haven't found it, is going to come up with, a commercial product that lets you do the kind of things that we're doing with PDFs, and we won't even have to write that anymore. The other thing I think that we're just seeing the beginning of is there are some tools out there like Go Native, which is pretty cool, actually, if you haven't played with that. I mean, the demo that they do is unbelievable. Basically, I just took one of our clients' Squarespace sites and plugged it into Go Native, and it generated a native, like an iOS app. I was like, wow, right? Now, of course, it's the mobile version of your site, but Squarespace, one of the reasons we love Squarespace is that their tools make it really easy to build a highly adaptive and highly responsive site. So if you're very careful with your design elements, it really can look very much like an app, and then you run it through Go Native and it is an app. So I think we'll reach a point one day where we won't have to jump through the flaming hoops that we have to jump through now to like build a React Native app and get it all published into the stores and da da da. The short version is, I think our need to write code is going to get, is going to become less and less. But frankly, I mean, everyone who works here, I'm the only one that works here that doesn't have a design degree. And so we hire programmers that have design degrees. And so as time goes by, we're going to end up drifting back to what we started out as 12 years ago, which is just pure UX design. And I'm kind of looking forward to that. The more things we can just focus on design and spend less time actually building, I think that's going to be pretty great. It will change the pricing structure for sure, right? It'll change the perceived value. Some customers or clients that we have, they really get the user experience element because maybe they've been burned by having a bad one. I mean, we get a certain percentage of clients that come to us that put something out there and just had horrible feedback, and they've tried a variety of things on their own and nothing seems to work, and they're like, man, I don't know what to do. But not everybody has kind of lived through that pain. And so it sometimes it can be hard to justify the value of, thoughtful, careful user experience design. But the bar just keeps getting higher every year. I mean, the commercial products that are out there keep getting better. I mean, Apple, Microsoft, Google, I mean, they are really pushing the edge. And the nice part of it is they are providing tools to make it easier for us to build things that meet that standard. But at the end of the day, you have to know how to design. So I really just kind of made a point of hiring people here at Krutsch with design degrees, but also have some coding background. Like almost everyone I've hired has come out of Minneapolis College. In fact, I've hired like 8 people out of there to the point where they asked me to join their advisory board. So I'm part of the MCT or Minneapolis College Advisory Board. And we're doing this thing on February where we're going to meet with, I think most of the web and graphic design graduating class of 2022. And they're going to grill us on, how should I put my portfolio together and, stuff like that. How do I get a job? So yeah, it's pretty exciting, but it's a gamble, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm betting that coding will be less and less, design will become more important. And we just have to have a good sort of, it helps that I spent a lot of years as a software architect. And so I have a good sort of, high level vision of how to solve problems. That's been helpful.